Hey, what's up guys and or ladies? We're gonna do a login script here, and first thing, I'm at my website dream.com/lab, and go to the open source area, and you're gonna download website template, and you can do whatever you want with this. It's just so we can save time and make your life easier. Okay, and I have mine right here. Okay, and I'm just gonna pop this on my desktop, and we're going to use PHP for a login script. So we need to go to our working directory, like on our hard drive, where we have WAMP set up or whatever, and I think I'll put mine in Sandbox. Okay, and I'm just going to drag this over here and F2, and I'm just going to call this login. Okay, and inside of here we have just some simple stuff. I'm going to rename this to .php save. Okay, and make sure it works. I'm going to go to Sandbox, login, okay, and this is just a template. So let's get started. In index.php, we got a bunch of stuff here. What we can do is kind of clean some of this up. I'm just going to leave the form example there, and I guess I'll just delete the rest. Okay. So I just have this, I'll refresh there, field. So this one's going to be the login, and this one's going to be the password. And we want to give our forms a name so that we can call them from the post. You'll see what I mean. So name equals login. And this, for the password, I'm going to do type equals password. And what that does is it hides the letters you're typing. And for the name, I'll do password. Okay, and refresh, and we have login and password. We need to give this form an action, and the action will be login.php. So when they hit submit, it's going to go to login.php. Okay, and the method is going to be post. We're going to post these input fields into login.php. Okay, and I'll refresh, submit, and there is no login PHP yet. So I'm going to create a new file, and first I'm going to post login. I'll call this login equals post login, and password equals post password. That might confuse you. This is how you type it on Linux, PASSWD. Okay, I'll save this as login.php. This is pretty much all procedural code, very easy. We don't need to get too object-oriented crazy. And what we need to do is talk to the database for a login and password. What I'm going to do is use a library. I'll just go back to my site, dream.com, lab, and open source. And I'm going to get the MySQLi class. It's just really easy to use. Copy all that stuff, and I'll make a new file and paste that in there. And lastly, I'm going to save it. And I like to separate my libraries from the regular client-side pages. So I'm going to make a new folder, and I'll just call this libs, short for library. And I'll call this mysqli.class.php. You can call it whatever you want, because this is a reusable object. And yeah, that looks good. I'll close that. So what we need to do is require libs slash mysqli.class.php. Okay, and we need to have a way to connect over and over. So what we're probably going to want to do is create a config file, and you'll see why I'm doing this in a minute. So this is going to be the config file. Okay, and I'll save this as config.php. Let me open that MySQLi class up 1 second. Okay, and down here I gave you some sample usages. So I'm just copying that and pasting this into config. Select all this, hold shift and press tab. Okay, and my host will be localhost, user root, and the table, I'll just call it login. Okay, and basically what we're doing is on every page we want to be able to configure an array, and this just holds your database info. And yes, we have to create a database, but now that we have this config file, what we'll do is instead of having to reinstantiate the database every time, like if you want to connect to the database here and then another page, we can just use the DB variable. Okay, and by doing that we just do require config.php. okay, and in config.php don't forget to include the database object. Okay, so back here we now have our database object, and we're just going to do a query. And what I'm going to do is say select, I'll just do it real simple first. I'll just say select ID from users where login equals login and password equals password. And I'm going to type this out so it's easier to read. I really like tabbing this because it's nicer to skim through. Oops, users where login. Oops, my dog's outside barking. Oh, be quiet. Alright, and we have to put little quotes around these. Quote, quote, and quote, quote. Okay, looks good. So, we have to create a database. And remember I called mine login, so I'll just go up here and I'll go to localhost phpMyAdmin. If you don't have phpMyAdmin, you can do this through the console if you want. I'm just doing this because probably most people are familiar with it. And we call this login. Okay? And we're going to create a table called users. And I'm going to give them 5 fields. For the first field, I'm going to give this an ID with an integer value of 11. And this is the primary key. If you don't know a lot about SQL, I got a lot of tutorials on these. And I'm just going to tab over. And the index primary. AI means auto increment, so every time we insert, it's going to go count up so that the ID for each user is unique. You might say, why do I want an ID? Can't I just put in a name? You could, but then if the user ever changed their name, then it could mess up a whole lot of things in your application. So let's make a login field. This will be a var character, and I only want this to be like up to 20 long. And for the password field, also a var character, I'm going to do 40. The reason I'm doing 40 is because we're going to do SHA-1 encryption, meaning if someone were to hack your database, you know, it's possible, they won't be able to just read all these passwords, and you yourself won't be able to hack your own users if you wanted to for some reason. It's just good to do. And we can put one in called email, like maybe if you wanted to do that at some point. And 50, those can get kind of long. Lastly, how about created and date time? And I'll save that. Okay, ID, login, password, email, created. We're pretty much going to mess with these 3. And we're going to want to insert a guy. So, login, I'll do Jesse. And for the password, this has to be SHA-1. Okay? So, if you go to your PHP, let's just say index.php, okay? And this is it right here. And we're just going to put in some little PHP tags. PHP. And let's say password equals Jesse, okay? That's what I'll use for my password. And I'm going to do the SHA-1 function on password. And I'll echo that out. So refresh. And I get this, which is 40 characters long. Okay, if you didn't understand this, go back. All you have to do, you could even just do this. Type in the password like that, and we'll get the same thing. The reason to do this is because we're setting up the first user, so it's kind of necessary. And I'll press go. Out of range column, probably doesn't matter. Just nothing for the date. Okay, so now we have our login and our password. And let's go back to login. And we're selecting the ID, but what I want to do is select how many users there are that match these conditions. How many users have this exact login and this exact password? Okay. And what I'm going to do is select count ID as total. Again, I have MySQL tutorials if you want to learn some of this. We're just counting the how many IDs there are of this. There really should only be one. And what we're going to do is db get total, and we'll echo that out to see how many there are. Okay. And one thing you're going to notice is that we're not passing in the encrypted password. Okay. So let me refresh, and I'll just type test, and select star from someplace there's a problem. Did this not save? Login.php. Problem with SQL, select star from someplace. What did I do here? I can go ahead and erase that. Login.php. Login.php. These are both in the sandbox. That's odd. Select count ID as total from users. I'm going to pause the video 1 second. Okay, I accidentally left a query in the config file. Okay, and right here we can get rid of that. Save, close, and let's go back and try that again. Test, undefined variable db. Oops. Let's go back and see what we had. Config. Oh, I did a lowercase db. Sorry. So db. Little embarrassing. No big deal. And refresh, and we'll get 0, meaning there's no matches. And like I was saying, I'll echo out the password that I typed. You see I typed in test, but that's not safe data, so we want to do SHA-1 on password. So we'll do SHA-1 and save, and I'll refresh. Let me go back. I forgot to echo that out. So I'll do test and test. And here's the SHA-1. It's a different SHA-1 encryption hash, but you see it's going to have to match up with this. Security is important. So this all looks good so far. Let's try Jesse login. And sorry, I'm echoing that out, but the last number is a 1, meaning there's a match. So I'll get rid of this, refresh that once more, and it means there's a match. So when there's a match, we want the user to log in. And what I'm going to do is say result equals db get total, and if result equals 1, log them in, else back to entrance. Okay. And now on my database I already have some stuff that MySQL escapes the strings, but you may want to sanitize this stuff. You know, there's a lot of other tutorials I got that you could watch about sanitized filtering and all that. We won't get into that. This is just so you understand how to log in. So if the result is good, we want them to go someplace where they're logged in. So let's make a new page, and I'm going to copy this index page, okay? And I'm going to save this as logged in.php. Welcome, logged in. Okay, and we have a logged in page, and we want to protect this page from being accessed from the outside. So what I would do is put some PHP at the top, and we're going to check a session. Okay, and you always have to start with session start. And you might say, well, you might not realize this, but we're going to put session start in config. So I'll open config, and I will do session start. Okay, just so we have a session to work with. And we'll say session user login, session is logged. You don't have to do these exactly the same, but we're just checking that the user login is set in the session and that they are logged, and we're going to post these in the login. Okay, so if the result is good, the user login is going to equal is login is going to be 1, and the user login will actually be the account ID is total, and we also want to select the login. DB get login. I hope that works. I'm gonna try to echo that out. Echo refresh. It looks like I can't do that with the same one, so I'll just do a get, and this will look a little bit different. So result 0 total. Let me make sure this works. Okay, we get 1. Okay, we're just getting a multi-dimensional array, and if you really want to see what that looks like, you could do print r result, refresh, and you see we have a main array and then we have a sub array, and we're doing array 0 and then the name of it. Okay, that might look confusing, but hey, that's life, man. So I'll just replace this here. Okay, so if the result total is 1, and we're going to set the session, and we're also going to get the username, and I'll call this login. You see we're selecting the total and the login name. Okay, and then we're going to do a header location to loggedin.php, and we're going to do exit so that nothing else happens, just in case, you never know. And for this, if they fail, we're going to send them back to the index page, index.php. Okay, and so these are being set. So how about we go up here and we say if is not set session user login, and is not set session is logged, then we'll do header location index.php and exit. So that should be good. Parse error on login line 18. Oops, semicolon. Refresh. Okay, and you see if we fail, it keeps taking us back here. And if I do Jesse, or let's try to go to loggedin.php, and it won't let me. It takes me back here. And what if I do Jesse submit, and that should have worked. If result total equals 1, header location logged in. Session if is not set, bizarre. JESSE. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to die and see what's happening. Print R result echo pre. So let's see. Okay, so we have total and login. That looks correct, and that is correct. We set the session, good, and the header location goes to loggedin.php. User login and is logged. Oh, we forgot to include the config. Oh, that's so embarrassing. So there's no session being start here. We just got to require config.php. Oops. What did I do? Oops. This is so embarrassing. Logged in and include that. Okay, so refresh and logged in welcome. Let's create a logout script. If we're logged in, we're just going to make a link, and we'll do question mark logout. Okay, and this is going to go on the logged in question logout page, so it's going to look like this, like that. and we want that to do something to log us out. So I'll say if is set, well, we could do get log out. Then we're going to do session destroy, and I think that might be good. You can sometimes unset your session stuff. If we really wanted to, we could say session is logged equals 0, and the other one unset. Maybe we just want to unset these. Okay, and refresh, and we're going to want to go to the index page, but that's going to do it automatically for us because when we unset this, we're not supposed to be here, but this should be before the checking of the header here. So, and the reason is when we click log out, it's going to destroy the session, and then it's going to check if the session's there. Okay, so let's go ahead and click log out, and it didn't do it as desirable as we wanted, so I'll just do a header location once again. And sorry for the long tutorial. Jesse log out looks good, and that's a very basic way to log in and log out, and I think that will suffice for now. I'll just call this login script, and I'll put this up on my website if you guys don't want to fill it all out and try to learn from some of the code. Thanks for watching.